The year 1990. My diaper full of shit. Me also full of shit because I wasn't even alive then. Hashtag young forever. The game? The Immortal. Created by EA Games of loot boxes are actually surprise mechanics and players love them fame. It released in a year filled with heavy hitters such as Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and A Boy and His Blob Trouble on Blobalonia, as well as a few lesser known titles such as Final Fantasy III. An isometric dungeon crawler of such obtuse design and unreasonable difficulty that it would make the world of Dark Souls seem like a well-structured children's book, containing an entirety of 0 instructions and a slew of items that for some reason just kill you when used. Why? In fact, I'd go so far as to say it's the original Souls-like game. Now I know what you're thinking. This doesn't look like a Souls-like at all. Ah, but it does, because it has dodging and stamina management. But above all, this game is an absolute pioneer when it comes to a mechanic core to any good Souls-like. And that mechanic is a little thing called bullshit. This game is the bastard child of Mr. Unfair equals difficult and Mrs. Difficulty for the sake of difficulty. What that means is holes in the floor with no hints as to where they are. Let's go around the... What? Spikes on the floor that appear out of thin air to sodomize you. As if you were a little boy left alone with a bulldog named Princess. There's just no way you could have known you were about to die. Now, spoilers, if you were just about to get to the game after 35 years, then skip ahead some. But there's an amulet that you use at multiple points that has an inscription on the back. When you use the amulet, you need to refuse when asked if you also want to read the inscription. Because if you do read it, the entire room gets incinerated like your grandma's kitchen after she forgot to turn off the burners. Okay. But at least that has a lore reason explained later. There's even an item that kills you when used correctly if you don't know to immediately exit the room after using it. Which the first time you use it, obviously you do not. If I had to list all the new and interesting bullshit ways this game kills you, I would be here all day. All this skullduggery, combined with the fact that you have to restart the floor if you die 3 times, means you spend a lot of time repeating content to get to the point where it's time for more trial and error to proceed. And there is a lot of trial and error. I once heard that games from this time period were created in order to sell guides. And this game is a really strong argument for that being the case. Like many older games, this one does not hold your hand or give any hints about what to do with many of the items. Granted, some are obvious, like when you find Dunrick living La Vida Loca down in the dungeon, you know to give Dunrick's ring to him. But you're supposed to know to hold an amulet up to the light and not read the inscription, or plant spores in this patch of dirt to kill the Goblin King without any sort of help? Actually, I figured out the second on my own because my brain has many wrinkles. And the last boss is the pinnacle of this bang your head against the wall until it works gameplay. With no hints about what to do, you're supposed to know to use Blink to dodge the fire until it exhausts, hold up the amulet so the true villain appears and steals it, use the golden statue spell to defend yourself from lightning until that exhausts, and you only have the exact amount you need, so when this fucker decides to just suck that lightning right back inside of him like a spaghetti noodle, and it baits you into wasting a charge, you're gonna need to restart the fight. And then finally, after the villain gives his final monologue, you're supposed to use magnet hands to steal the amulet back from him so that the dragon can burn him to death. And these are just a few examples. There are many more. The only thing that's fair and makes sense in this game is the combat. You can swing left, middle, or right, and dodge left or right. Quite nimble for an old wizard. Swinging repeatedly builds up fatigue and makes you swing slower, giving the enemy a chance to punish you like a bad boy. Dodging, on the other hand, reduces fatigue. So you perform this sexy tango of death with the strangely hot goblins and trolls of the dungeon in order to determine the victor. You have hit points that carry between fights, but don't really matter much between those fights because everything one-shots you. Except this godforsaken bat that flies around and chips away at your health. and if you happen to run in the same direction as it, you just get melted like butter. Salted butter. Because I'm gonna keep it real, that shit made me mad. Since we haven't covered it yet, let's go over the premise of the game. It's simple. Your master Mordremir is kidnapped and taken to a dungeon, and you're tasked with rescuing him. Maybe? When you get the message from your master that, for some reason he was allowed to place at the entrance of the dungeon, he asks for Dunric's help, leaving your character, and by extension you, very confused about who the hell Dunric is. Along the way, you'll brave traps, find items, and meet others who help you along your way, like this 80s porn star, or Dunric's daughter, Anna. As you descend into the dungeon, you begin to realize everything is not as it seems. Mordremir was not, in fact, the damsel in distress, but instead the very source of the distress for everyone involved. He lures his apprentices to the dungeon under the guise of being captured, in the hopes that they'll find his amulet, read the inscription on the back, and incinerate the dragon, and them along with it. But he makes the fatal mistake of saying that the dragon won't incinerate him as long as he has the amulet he stole from you after you refuse to read the inscription. So naturally, you use magnet hands to yoink that shit away from him, and the dragon promptly turns him into a pile of ash. Grateful, the dragon just lets you leave. Upon exiting the dungeon, you meet Anna once more, except now that your character has been reinvigorated by magic waters, the game not so subtly hints that you would like Anna to play your meat flute. And the game ends. The game managed to pull a Dark Souls in that it used a little bit of context to give a lot of bit of lore. This game was definitely an experience, frustrating at times and incredibly frustrating at others. When overcoming the many obstacles, I never really found myself with a sense of pride at having gotten past the puzzles, but more a sense of relief thinking, oh thank God I don't have to repeat that level anymore. The graphics look pretty damn good for the time in my opinion. Like the dragon looks sick, and the lore is pretty good. But would I play it again? Jesus Christ, no. And for your own sake, I would suggest you don't either, unless you're a masochist or use a guide. 4 out of 10, get me the fuck out of here's.